What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Wednesday Night Mythic Conversations. Had a week off last week because I was traveling to California. California was wonderful. I've only been out there one other time to do a couple of the parks out there, Sequoia and Yosemite. So this was my first visit out there to Disneyland. And I also got to do the Geekin' Out show in La Mirada, California. Big thank you to the West Coast Legionnaires. It's hard for us to get out to the West Coast to California and do a show like that. But Mike, who ran that show, really helped out by, getting the product for us and bringing it to the show. And it was absolutely worth it. The Legionnaires came out in force. It was actually funny. At one point, Mike said, because we had, if you've been to, the Four Horsemen at a show, you'll see the line of Legionnaires that line up and are grabbing stuff and people walking away with boxes of product. And if you've never seen that before, if you're at a show that's never had that, it is unusual. It is surprising. And the guy that ran the show, Mike, mentioned that one of the other vendors there actually asked if we were giving away free toys. Like said, are they giving away free toys at that table? And he laughed and he said, no, they're selling them. And he said, why is there a line? Like people they've never seen that before. So heartfelt thank you to everyone that came out this weekend. It was actually really cool to see a lot of familiar faces. Sir Elliot from the Cabal came out to show some love. Late night LeBron came out. That's just a few. A lot of people showed their love. So thank you all very, very much. That brings us to tonight. We're back. I've taken a week off. I knew I had to come out with an out of this world episode. So tonight we're going to talk about something called Cosmic Legions character packs. And to do that, I've got a couple special guests. So first up, I'm going to bring Mr. Eric Treadaway. Eric, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun.
So we're going to have a good conversation tonight, and this is a cosmic conversation. Despite the name of the show, Mythic Conversations, I wasn't forward-thinking enough when I named the show. I named it, instead of Legions Conversations, I named it Mythic Conversations. But tonight is going to be a distinctly cosmic conversation, and it's interesting because as I was putting together this presentation for these cosmic character packs, I took some time to step back a little bit and really look at where Cosmic Legions is right now. And, it's no secret, Cosmic Legions is still a very young line. Mythic Legions remains our most popular line. Cosmic has not hit that level of popularity yet, which is unsurprising because it is so young. And I kind of didn't realize how young it was until I started going through this. So I'm sure you remember this graphic here, this promo that we did, correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that was one of the first images that we showed in our kind of, announcement reveal.
And it's funny because it's got the date 2021 on it, but that was when we said it was going to be coming. This was actually shown in at the virtual Legions Con in 2020. So the first time ever that G-Con and Legions Con were together, it was a matter of necessity with everything shut down for COVID. That year in 2020, we did the virtual back-to-back day broadcast. And the last panel that we did for Legions Con was the Four Horsemen reveal panel, Four Horsemen panel. So we had revealed Alithia at G-Con, but at Legions Con, we announced Cosmic Legions. So this was actually revealed in 2020, which by my reckoning makes this year technically the 5-year anniversary of Cosmic Legions.
Yeah, it's a wild factoid. Yeah, it is.
It doesn't feel, but it is, and it's very similar to Mythic, because we said that 2014 was like the first year of Mythic, even though the first Mythic Kickstarter wasn't until February 2015. We have said that the official start of Mythic Legions was Toypocalypse at Toy Tokyo in 2014. So in a very similar way, 2020 was the first year, the first start of Cosmic Legions, even though we didn't get the first wave until 2021. And breaking it down, so again, 2020 was when it was revealed. September 2021 was when Valkatar Book 1 was revealed and open for pre-order. I have fond memories of that. So that was before I was working full-time, but that was that weird interim where I wasn't full-time, but I was still running like all the broadcasts and stuff. And you guys were out in Anaheim at PowerCon trying to put the figures together in your hotel room.
It was, yeah, I mean, and that was still, very much in the heart of COVID. That show was a mask only show. I think one of the first times CB had been, out anywhere, and, it was like 6 of us packed into a hotel room, pretty much disregarding our own safety at that point, to get that reveal special together. So it was, kind of for a lot of us, really the first time to see like the world, again. It was crazy. And Cosmic had been, cooking for so long at that point. It was also like such a buildup for us, like to be at that point where we were finally showing this to the world and, putting it out there, which is always, nerve-wracking in its own right.
So I know where we are now. When we do these reveal specials, it's always you and I that are up there, the two warriors up there presenting. But that was such an early point that I remember I was still trying to find my place. And I was like, I remember because CB, Cornboy was like the most visible member of the studio at that point. And I was like, Cornboy, do you want to be on camera? And I just remember him saying like, no, I just want to sit on the bed in the background the entire broadcast. And he just sat on the bed, just hanging out, reading stuff. It was such a weird reveal, but it's actually a very fun memory. But it's crazy that was, less than 5 years ago now. And then if we fast forward July 2023, about a year and a half ago is when the first Cosmic Legions figures landed in hand, followed in October 2023 by Grave Knight. And then most recently, last May, we got the Outpost Zaxius. So realistically, Cosmic Legions have only been in hand for 1.5 years. To date, we've revealed 41 figures, 27 of which are actually out right now. And when I look at the success of Cosmic Legions, and I look at, because I hear so many Legionnaires that have yet to buy their first Cosmic. At Geeking Out this weekend, there were a number of Legions fans that picked up their first Cosmic. I think a big part of it is how young it is and how diverse it is in some ways. So one of the things that I thought was cool was thinking about how young this line is. If we map that to Mythic, this is based on where Cosmic is in its timeline. That's where it would relate to Mythic, Soul Spiller. So, wow. When was the last time you thought about the Soul Spiller wave, Eric?
It's been a while. Yeah.
I mean, the Soul Spiller wave was the first ever G-Con. It was a solid calendar year before we revealed Aerithyr, which, you know, even though we had the incredibly epic and large first Kickstarter and then Advent of Decay, really, I think a lot of people would agree that this line it really hit its kind of modern stride after the Aerithyr wave. So again, thinking about where we are and realizing that by that point, we had released 122 Mythics. Once again, we've released 41 Cosmics so far. And looking at these, I remember being a fan in those early days of Mythics. And one of the great things was popping and swapping. Immediately getting those figures. And I remember the first thing I did, Eric, I got a blood armor and I popped his head off and I put a Carpathia's head on it. Mm-hmm. That was the first pop and swap I did. And it was immediately, it almost had that like Bram Stoker's Dracula type feel. Yeah. You know, it was like, oh, the red blood armor with that head. And that right out of the gate was so fun to mix and match those parts. There were a lot of skeletons, a lot of dwarves, a lot of knights, and the parts were very interchangeable. And I think when we kicked off Cosmic, you know, when we did this line, we were very focused right out of the gate on storytelling and on diversity. Two things that I think have made this line incredibly rich. But looking at it, there's so much diversity that the pop and swap potential between these figures is actually somewhat limited. You know, I look at a figure like Oleg Thygar, one of our main heroes, and unless you just want to give him a helmeted head, there's no other figures with that skin tone or scaly pattern or something that you could easily just pop on that figure body.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's really indicative of that some of the push and pull with the design process on these figures. And it's really just, and it's not just Cosmic, it's the kind of the modern version of Legions where we stand now. Like we just have the ability to tool more. We have such a parts library already in the rear view that it allows us to create more diverse characters. But it does set up a situation where we're almost releasing newness. I don't say it's not almost, it is. We're releasing new tooling, new character types, new species, all of that faster than we can really reuse it the way that we used to. I mean, you look at, you go back to that list that you had. I mean, we did that initial set of tools for Mythic Legions 1, and then, even into Advent of Decay, which was, was the first time we really introduced new tooling. But even in that, there's a large, a large representation of those tools from the first series still. Whereas now, certain pieces get used once, twice, maybe, and they don't come back for a long time. It just, that repetition isn't there like it used to be. So sometimes, it requires us to step back a little bit and say, well, how do we do some of that popping and swapping and that interchangeability? Just because we're moving forward so quickly, you have to pause for a second and take a little look back.
Yeah. So that, obviously I'm showing the figures that have come out. These are the two Ox Crew waves. These are the two waves that aren't out yet. So both of these are in tooling right now. Things are going very, very well. These are both expected to land this year. So lots of great stuff coming for Cosmic. But, we were sitting down and we've got such exciting stuff planned for Cosmic, both from a character standpoint and from a story standpoint. We've barely just scratched the surface. There's a lot of surprising things yet to reveal, but we've also got a lot of figures out there. And, as a business, our business is to sell toys. So we want more Legions fans to get these toys. I said to you earlier, one of the challenges is how passionate our fans are about Mythic Legions. We have so many fans that have gone so deep into Mythic Legions that they're almost afraid to jump onto Cosmic, that they're going to get into another spiral. I actually have the Mythic Legions Enabler shirt on tonight. I was listening to the Enablers podcast not that long ago, and a couple of those guys, Mike was saying that I love those figures. They look so cool. However, I'm afraid to get into it because I know how obsessive I can get. I'm going to want them all, and I'm so invested in Mythic. So in true enabler fashion, we need to think how we can enable people to want to pick up more of these. And what has always worked for us has been that popping and swapping, creating these characters that people can use as is, but they can mix and match and do what they want with. That has always been the secret sauce of Legions. So we sat down and we said, what can we do in the short term with Cosmic to breathe some new life into some of these characters, to give some of these characters that are a little challenging to maybe find new parts to pop and swap on them, to find some new ways that we can do that. And of course, there's tons of 3D parts out there. You can paint things to match, but the reality is the customizers, the painters remain an important yet a small part of our community. We want to do something that anybody can enjoy. Anybody can pop and swap. So that leads us to where we are right now. This teaser that we dropped today, Cosmic Legions character packs, prepare for data download. And that's what we are going to talk about today. Cosmic Legions character packs, these are going to be some head packs that can be used with a variety of Legions figures, as you will see, but they are made specifically to go with select Cosmic Legions figures to expand what you can do with them. We're going to show you the first wave that we have today, talk to you about the planned sale. And if these are as successful as we hope, we've got some very cool ideas in the works for future waves of Cosmic character packs. Want to get looking at these, Eric?
Let's do it.
So the first one I've been saying, throughout this presentation is Oexatra. Oleg's a very personal character for you. This is a character that you designed when you were actually very, very young, and he represents one of our main heroes in Cosmic Legions. Yeah,
he's one of those characters that's been in sketchbooks and doodles on school papers and stuff like that since at least middle school. So yeah, like he's definitely very, very near and dear to me. So it's cool anytime we're doing anything with this guy. So
what we decided to do with this guy, he's great. We love his colors, and it was a really easy decision. The Ninians that we debuted at Legions Con were so popular that we said, you know what? A real easy thing to do is to create a heads pack that are going to be these two different Ninian heads, paint matched exactly to the bodies for Oexatra. So just with a snap on of that head, you can use these snakes and you can have snakes in space.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can just look at that. It's instantly cool.
Instantly cool, yeah.
And cool from the standpoint, too, one of the things that we talked about, you were showing that teaser image from that Cosmic Legions announcement. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we stressed in that presentation was that, we want Mythic and Cosmic to be as seamlessly interchangeable as possible. And also that the tooling on an investment and time and everything that goes into either one of those lines can pay dividends on the other end. And, this is a great example of that because, people have been asking for reptilian figures in Mythic for years and years. And it was something we always had plans to do. We knew we wanted to do. But we actually introduced the parts for that, building that library up in Cosmic, knowing full well that, within a couple of years of Thygar coming out, we would be doing snake-based characters. And so this is like a neat full circle moment where you actually, went from Cosmic to Mythic, and then the Mythic's coming back to Cosmic, and then you want to take it a step further. You take, if you want a blue snake warrior in Mythic, you can take it that way again. It's that really, that play pattern and that cohesiveness between the two lines really, it just kind of hammers that point home really well.
And that's the point here too, is, we're showing it with these figures, but these are absolutely going to be usable on lots of different figures. Someone was mentioning these would be great heads for Armory Knights. Absolutely. You can put either of these heads on any of a full Knight build and it works completely. Now, we're going to talk about this offering because we've got head packs, we've got combo packs, but we're going to talk about pricing at the end. But I just want to throw this out there now because I know we're going to get a lot of questions about it. These are going to be $10 a piece, not $10 a head, $10 for the two heads. So the two heads, that's just, we wanted to do something that was just very, very simple. Nope, it does not have a tail. We started talking about, well, we can include a tail and we can include this. We started realizing that these were getting more complex and more expensive. We wanted this to be super simple, super low cost. So all of these Cosmic character packs we're about to see are going to be $10. You're going to get two heads per pack for $10. We're going to also offer some combo packs that include the base body if you need one of those for an even bigger discount. So we're going to talk more about that, but just so people know what the pricing is, I wanted to get that out there. But before we go forward, I do think it's time to bring in our second special guest of the night, Eric.
Absolutely.
So
that image is a perfect
perfect
segue. Yeah.
So one of the cool things is the message that we said was that the universe is growing more diverse. The universe is expanding. Not only is the universe of Cosmerrium expanding with these character packs, but kind of our personal universe is expanding a little bit as well here. Because this was a really interesting project where we were painting these last September, October. I have to imagine that you remember what we were doing last October. The entire studio was so absolutely swamped working on Reign of the Beasts and the Dragon and all of that. So we had been working with a painter outside of the studio for a little while, doing some outside projects. And we always knew we wanted to bring him in closer to some of the Legions projects. This ended up being a perfect opportunity to do that. He painted 4 out of the 5 heads packs we're going to look at. So I'm going to bring him in right now. We're going to go with double the amount of Erics in the show tonight. Everyone, please welcome and congratulate Mr. Eric Miller. Eric, welcome.
Hey.
So Eric, kind of a dual reveal. Not only are we revealing Cosmic character packs, but we're revealing that you are the one that painted all of these, officially painting products for the studio and for release. That's got to feel pretty cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm trying not to get emotional. I'm sorry. This project was just absolutely amazing. And I'm so over the moon for it. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be a part of this.
One thing that I think is fun to discuss is, as I've said, we were doing this in like September, October. So if if people do the math, that was before the Ninians were revealed at Legions Con. So you got a box in and you got your hands on these before Legions Con.
Yeah, that was nuts. I couldn't believe what I was looking at, man.
And then when the Ninians were revealed at Legions Con and all your fellow enablers were like, Eric, have you seen the snake? You had to pretend that you had never seen that snake before.
Basically, yeah. I mean, I had no idea the Ninian was coming.
Yep.
You know, it's like I'm only privy to the information I'm privy to, and like I had no idea. And when I saw that figure in the background of the Basilia picture, and then again in the display, I was like, "Are we getting this thing tomorrow? Like, is this really happening?" And man, I couldn't be happier with how everything worked out. And I really do. I've been pushing that Ninian and talking about how much I love it, and totally independent of this whole thing, I absolutely love that figure. But this was just icing on the cake.
Yeah, absolutely. So wonderful to have you work on these. It's funny because for your first project, I mean, this was very similar to doing a custom project. I mean, how many times have you paint matched a mythic or a cosmic figure? So for your first project, sending you some heads and saying, hey, this project needs to match Oleg Thygar. It's right up the alley of what you do.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it felt very natural. I mean, almost felt like just making customs in general, but the stakes were a bit higher. I made sure I got everything as close as humanly possible. So, yeah.
And Eric, this is weird having two Erics. I have to guess which one. So Eric Treadaway, we started talking to Eric, middle of last year about the possibility of doing some of this. And, both of us have been big fans of his work for years. I can distinctly remember at Legions Con when you and I walk around after the doors are locked, which is like the only time that we can get through the tables without getting stopped. Stopping at Eric's table to see his tribute customs and his Disney customs and just his work in general is always kind of a highlight. So having been such a big fan of his work and knowing genuinely what a fan of the studio he is, what a fan of Cosmic he is, everything just seemed to be line up perfectly to bring him in for this project.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, you're absolutely right. I remember the first time Eric was out at Legions Con, and that one, it was actually Sherry and I walking around checking out tables, and I remember definitely that table stopped me in my tracks. That the Frankenberry, the Hatbox Ghost. We always talk about the Disney stuff at Legions Con. So, there's definitely, that aspect gets me excited, on top of just the level of craftsmanship and painting is, top notch. There's no question about that. So it's beautiful to look at, whether I'm into the subject matter or not, but then, there's so much crossover as far as like the types of customs that Eric picks, and definitely the Disney stuff, because it's Disney park stuff, which that's a very specific kind of subset of like Disney fandom, and like some of it's deep cuts. Like this year it was the from the now defunct Maelstrom ride in Epcot.
Yes.
And it's stuff like that. It's I don't know, like it's almost how excited you get in a movie when you see an Easter egg type of a thing. It's going so deep that it's like that. So Eric's table is always a highlight, and I think in all of us at the studio have been big fans of his work ever since, your first time at Legions Con. So, everybody at the studio is thrilled to have Eric on board doing this doing this work for us. It's a perfect fit.
So there are some questions. I mean, the chat is blowing up right now with everybody just congratulating you, Eric, and saying what geniuses we are for bringing you on board. No, but a lot of wonderful, wonderful comments. But there are some questions, people asking if the OLEC figure is going to be offered as well. And the answer is yes. So we are going to we are going to have not only the heads packs that can be bought totally separately, or if you need some of these figures to put them on. I mean, that's the whole point of this, is we want to get more of these out there. So they will be available. These are going to be on Store Horseman. We will also offer them through retailers after at a slight markup. So all of that we'll talk towards the end. But yes, all the base figures we're seeing today are also going to be available to purchase at the same time. So it's not like you don't have access to those. One of the things I love about this particular piece here, so this is the kind of the Serpent Soldier pack, right? And it's got these two heads, the open mouth and the closed mouth, and it was made for the Thygar Grave Ring figure. But amazingly, I actually like the Thygar Valkatar figure better, and I had never even thought of putting that head on that figure until like yesterday. Eric, I messaged Brad and I was like, are you in the studio today? I have a very time sensitive photo I need you to take, because I had never thought about how this head would look on that body. And it's funny because I shared it with Eric this morning, and he had never, when he painted this, he didn't put it on his deluxe Thygar as well, but it looks absolutely so cool on that body as well.
That is all. I actually haven't seen this yet. That looks awesome. That looks like a I don't know, where my mind goes immediately to like a 70s or 80s like sci-fi book cover painting. Like it just, yeah. I mean, it's pretty perfect. That's cool.
Yeah, so obviously that figure comes with the two different necks, one that's armored and one that has the blue, and just that extension of the blue on the head to the blue on the neck looks so good.
Yeah, I love this look too. Jeremy sent me that photo earlier today, and I was like, I can't believe the whole time I had those heads on my desk, I didn't try this once. But it looks so good.
So let's go forward. Let's look at the next one. I did mention that we have 5 different head packs that are going to be available in these cosmic character packs. So that was the first one. The second one uses Kragnar, and this is not going to be a surprise. We've seen a number of people do this particular custom. This is the only one that doesn't come with 2 heads. This one only comes with 1 head because it also comes with a tail, so you can create this character here. This is the Drago Seer set. The Drago Seer, Arakagor, has been such a hugely popular figure. I've actually seen a number of people paint this head and tail in orange. I'm going to be totally upfront about something. I have a green head and tail, a Scourge head and tail on my paint desk that I haven't had time to do. So this was my way of getting an orange Drago Seer in my collection without actually having to do the work.
Nice.
And again, you look at this, Eric Treadaway. I mean, you look at Kragnar there, and then you look at how he transforms. I mean, this has got all the same armor. The fur was taken off the waist and stuff, but it's such a different looking character with that head and that tail added to it.
Absolutely. And this is where, just some of the types of things that, like, when I'm sculpting that I labor over, and like, you don't really, there's subtle things that yep. make a difference, aside from, obviously it's a completely different head structure, but just like placement on the, how it rests on the neck, and like how it, that changes the height of the figure, or the, that overall presence of the figure. Mm-hmm. And, this it does exactly that. On top of the fact that again, it's one's kind of a flat face, one's got the long face, but yeah, I mean, you throw, I mean, it's 2 new parts on here, and then the paint job, and yeah, I mean, it looks doesn't. Yeah, I mean, you kind of lose the fact that the rest of the body is shared.
Yep. And the great thing too with this is, if you want to use this as a mythic, this is a couple part swaps. Those gauntlets are separate pieces. So, I mean, you could just have the bare lower arms. If you wanted to go more mythic rather than cosmic with this, changing the lower legs, changing the waist armoring stuff, and you've got a mythic figure. I mean, that being said, even though these are cosmic parts, those even look mythic-y enough that I think I'm going to put this on my display in my collection like this without even touching it.
I see a lot of people putting cloaks on like the Arachagor figure, like the hooded cloak. Yeah. And like I could see even, just something as simple as putting something like that on this figure, even with the futuristic armor, you get a completely different type of character, something like that too.
Yep. So once again, this is going to be a $10 pack. So instead of this being 2 heads, as I said, you get the head, you get the tail, but it's still going to come in at that $10 price point. Eric, you've painted this particular head and tail before. Obviously, anyone that's been to Legions Con has seen your Figment custom. I feel like you've painted it besides that. Am I correct, or am I misthinking?
No, that's the only other time I painted it.
That's the only one. Okay. Yeah. I might be confusing with a different custom. But obviously you've done it on on Figment there. So a little bit of a different take there. But I'm curious, having painted these parts before, approaching it for a project like this, does that experience, having painted these parts, actually help you?
Yeah, a little bit. I actually pulled out my Figment when I was painting these to see where I placed some of the colors, because I thought I would try to match that a little bit. On the Figment, the tail is purple and the little spikes are orange, and I kind of like matched up where some of that coloring was. But I was also looking at the Kragnar face in general, so to get where the yellow highlights and kind of the oranges and then the deeper like brownish reds on the face were. I was kind of following the pattern of that Kragnar head still and placing that same pattern onto the Arachagor head. So yeah, it was kind of a mixture of both. And then the other thing too, I remember asking you if we wanted to paint the horns on the nose, and you were like, that's your call, and I had done that on the Figment and I liked it. So I moved that over here too.
So you go ahead, talk about a little bit about the process of working on these projects. You get some direction, but you also have some leeway to add your little touches to it, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, obviously, you guys put the prompt up front, like, hey, we're painting these heads to match these characters. So that's pretty self-explanatory. But then once you actually get into the actual process of doing it, questions start popping up. You're like, hey, do I go this way? Do I go that way? And genuinely talking to you, I mean, most of your responses were, go with your gut. I'm sure it's going to be great. And so that's what I did. And the response was good. And I think they came out awesome. And I couldn't be more proud of this project in particular. And working with you guys has just been so it's so amazing. I mean, you're so supportive of the moves I want to make and things like that. And it's cool to have you guys be so receptive to that. And I think the result is great because of it.
So Eric Treadaway, what I think my favorite part of this is the fact that the eye color on this head matches the eye color on Kragnar. And it's like such a small thing because, the eye color could have been anything there. This is very clearly a different type of character. But that connection, like Eric was saying, trying to match some of the color choices in terms of placement on Kragnar, I think really adds a strength to this particular piece put onto that figure. It feels both new and familiar at the same time.
Yeah, that's I like that something like that. If we were just deciding to do an orange dragon head, dragon based figure out of the gate, that color may have never found its way in there. Same way, the orange eyes on the snake heads, because that orange and blue was purposely a very alien color scheme, and so it kind of I like that sort of path creatively where unexpected things happen. That where you kind of you let the project lead, and you kind of like step back from wanting to have total control over every aspect of it, and those little surprises happen.
Yeah.
And I think it worked. On both of these we've seen here, it worked so well.
Yeah.
Looking at this is a cool shot here. Like it really shows that head, the way it changes the look of that figure quite a bit. But yeah, I mean it. That horn, even the horn color on the nose and the head horns, pulling from the Kragnar color palette. It's really rich.
Yeah.
In a way that who knows if this wasn't the process of matching an existing figure, the decisions may have been completely different. It just who knows, but may not have hit the mark the way that this does. But it hit. Eric hit the mark, so we're happy.
Well, one of the things you just pointed out, and by the way, that is why I wore this shirt tonight, everybody. That wasn't an accident. My wardrobe was carefully selected. But no, something you just pointed out is cool because for all of the people that have painted these parts like this, we never would have done this. Like we never would have released this as a full figure. We never would have released that blue snake character in that exact color, because it would be too close to something we've already done. So these kind of character packs, yes, this is not another big another big cosmic wave, so anyone who came here tonight expecting this was going to be a giant cosmic wave. I mean, first off, we're on the cusp of the dragon. We've got the book pre-order going now. It's not time for a giant cosmic wave reveal, but it's a great time for a little tiny offering like this. And I do love that aspect, that this gives us some new characters that we genuinely would not have gotten otherwise with the addition of these heads.
Absolutely. I think that's, I mean, it allows us to try a new way of selling, basically a new product category and a new way of pairing, products together. Because for us, it's we never want to be set in our ways and want to find the ways that people enjoy getting this stuff. And I think there's, at least I'm hoping there's a fun factor to this, that it's a, cheap product, cheap way to get a couple heads and mix up some of your existing figures. It's I don't know, anytime that the, kind of the status quo gets shaken a little bit, it's worth a shot. If it works, we'll do more. If it doesn't, it was worth a try.
And now these packs all use existing heads. So, this is a way for us to test out this idea to see if this is something that the community wants. But this next one, they're new heads. So this is something, they're similar to heads you've seen before, but these are technically new. And these are going to go, this is the third set. This is going to go with the Greyborn Eocypidian. So I remember back on the Advent of Decay wave, Eric. I remember a story being told at my first intern experience that you went a little crazy sculpting goblin heads on that wave. And it seems that you did something similar with Greyborn heads when it came to Cosmic Legions 1, or the Grave Knight wave, Cosmic Legions 2, actually. You sculpted a number of Greyborn heads, and we've only seen 2 of them so far. So we've seen the one on Ias, we've seen the one on Altar, but we have a couple different variations. They're not hugely different, but it ended up working really well for this project because it kind of allowed us to give Ias a couple potential different looks. So the 2 heads that we have for Ias, the one that we see on the left has those like gritting teeth, and the one on the right looks very, very similar, but it doesn't have the scars. So what we did with that one was we added this kind of like war paint, almost like that might have been an earlier look at Ias in the arena at Valkatar before he may have gotten those scars. And we get a better look at them here where we get to see that gritted tooth expression and how that face paint looks.
Yeah, I like that. And I think, yeah, I mean, this is a perfect opportunity to use these heads because, yeah, I mean, it was a situation where as I'm sculpting it, I'm just going through iterations of it. And, you know, with Ias, I did the unscarred version first and, you know, kept that before going in and putting in the scars. And then, I wanted to see what it looked like to make him a little angrier and grit the teeth. And they're subtle, you know, they're subtle enough where I don't know that it carries an entirely new figure. Like, but here, it brings something completely new to the mix. And, you know, these could be either, you know, like you said, an earlier version of Ias before his scarring, which would be cool storytelling and time stamping, you know, on a particular custom or version of your figure. Mm-hmm. Or these could be, you know, because they don't have the scars, these could be, you know, building up your Greyborns. So it's, you know, within a very specific species of character, it gives some opportunities to do some mixing and matching and you know, building out the world a little bit, whether that be from a strictly narrative standpoint of Ias or in building, you know, up more Greyborn.
Yeah, I love, and someone was asking, you know, is this still Ias or would this be considered a new character? Again, that's one of the great things about this. And we said that at the start of the show where, you know, early on, Mythic was so just like white space, wide open, like make it whatever you want. And Cosmic, right from the beginning, you know, Mythic, the story in Mythic has solidified a lot lately. But right from the get-go, we had story in Cosmic. And, you know, we both know that there's advantages to having kind of the more fleshed out story, but there's also advantages to it just like, these are just cool toys for you to do whatever you want with. So I look at these heads here, this particular pack, as a perfect opportunity to do that. Like if you want to display this as a moment in time for Ias, absolutely you can do so. Or if you want to build out kind of a landing party of Greyborns and use this as 3 different characters, that absolutely works as well.
100%. Yep.
So Eric Miller, so painting these, this is one that I think from a paint match standpoint, I was very impressed with that you were able to get, because there's a lot seemingly going on with these. Kind of to look behind the curtain a little bit, was this one of the harder ones for you to match, or was this an easier one?
This was the hardest one.
The hardest one.
And I've seen a lot of paint matches out there, and I just hadn't seen anything that really got like the perfect coloring on it. And I was really looking at the factory head and kind of dissecting the paint job. And I found myself thinking, okay, the factory started with this, here's the base color, and then they layered this, and then they did this other thing. Cause there's like a base gray. There's the lighter gray coming up from the mouth up to the face. And then of course you have the purples in there. And then there's a brownish gray that's like over top of it. And it all comes together in a really interesting way. And I've loved this figure since, you know, it was first revealed and when I got it in hand, but I never stopped to look at the paint job and think about every little aspect of what had gone into it. And it became apparent to me pretty quickly when I was going through all the heads for this project that this one was going to be a problem. So I spent some time making sure that I got it down, and I was really proud of myself for the way that it ended up. It was one of those ones where I finished it and kind of took a step back and thought, holy cow, I did it, you know?
Well, it's funny because a project like this, so I've paint matched plenty of Legions figures, but because I'm just doing it for customs, I can do the paint match cheat, which the paint match cheat is you paint the head as close as you can, and then you bring that color down on the neck a little bit and blend it. So the head may not match like the tummy, but you get that kind of transition and it works. You can't do that with this. Like, this actually has to match. And this is why Eric and Cameron and Sherry and Joe are painting these, and I'm here talking to all of you about the work they did. Because I am lazy boy customizer for sure. But no, I mean, we hadn't talked about this being the most complex before tonight, but just having seen it, I got that sense, and I love the fact that you confirmed it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And you're right. I mean, I've done the cheat, you know, so many times with customs, but yeah, it's when you're doing it to this capacity, you don't have that luxury. It has to be perfect. So.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, it is definitely not an easy thing to do. I mean, you look at even like sometimes when we do, you know, like a reissue figure, like an all-star or something like that, even the factory can't do it sometimes.
Yep.
You know, I look at a piece like this when you're showing those close-ups of the heads, and, you know, just an interesting like bit of kind of behind the scenes with the way these paint masters tend to go is, you know, when you're painting these for production, you know, they're painted in a way where the painter's trying to think through the production process. You know, where it's like, okay, it's going to be either molded in this color, based out in this color. You're going to, you know, put a wash on, then a dry brush, and then a spray. You know, you try to think it through. Inevitably, a good percentage of the time, the factory does it in a completely different way, but the result looks the same. And so it's funny because, like, you know, Sherry painted the originals on these, and I would imagine if she looked at the production and was trying to go back and basically like reverse engineer it, she might have to paint it a little differently the second time just to match like their kind of remix of how she did it in the first place.
That's so interesting. So
that's spot on to the process that I had going through these two. It's so it is very interesting. Yeah.
So I am seeing a lot of comments in the comments here about, I hope it's this, I hope it's that. All great ideas and absolutely ideas that we could consider for the future. You know, one of the things we really wanted to do with these was use parts that were already tooled, that were already in the library, because our goal with these is to be able to do a short pre-order. These are very inexpensive items. Do a short pre-order and get them into the production queue fairly quickly so we can have these out, you know, I'm saying mid to late this year that they'll be out. So that's one of the things we wanted to do, because Eric, we actually have some very cool parts that aren't available yet that we considered using. And we kind of decided, you know what, that has the potential to delay the delivery of this project. Let's push those into a possible wave too. So a lot of great comments. Love seeing all those suggestions. Certainly things we could see in the future. But for the next one, we're going to look at Spexians because, guys, I love the Spexians. As soon as the Spexians got shown, these were some of my favorite cosmic pieces, and that was just emphasized once they were in hand. I remember at PowerCon, that must have been, 2022, 2021, when we had the actual test shots of the Spexians. Just getting to play with those figures was so much fun. And I've actually loved the Block Commander since it came out. But one of the things that always bummed me out was the Spexian helmet. It only comes on the prison guard. And I always was bummed that we didn't have one for the Block Commander. So the next one that we've got here is, Eric, you paint matched one of those Spexian helmets to match the Block Commander here.
Yeah. This was another one that was pretty crazy to do. Yeah.
Well, this one, so the Spexians have some very interesting paints because there's a lot of like metallics and just kind of, there's a richness and a shininess, a shimmer to that there, not only in the base, but even in the eyes, all of those accent colors. Is this the first one you did? I feel like the Spexians were the first ones you did.
Yes. Yeah, they were the first ones I painted.
So this was the first internal project you did for us. And I am saying first because you've done others that we're not going to talk about tonight. Mm-hmm. But this was the first thing that you texted me and said, here's my match. And immediately I was like, yeah, this was a right decision. I sent it to Eric and I was like, look at this. And he was like, dude, that's spot on. Like, that looks so spot on. So this was a hard one though, correct?
It was, yeah. And you nailed it too. It's that sheen that's over top. That's like, what am I going to do? You know, I don't know what the paints the studio used on these things, or you know, I don't know a lot about where to start at all. And there's so many paints that are out there. So then the challenge of finding something that actually works comes into play. And I remember my experience being an intern back in 2021 for the very first time I was out in New Jersey, and going to Cameron's painting tutorial. And I won't say what it is because I don't know if it's a secret that was just for intern or whatever, but he had shared this specific set of paints that he had used on Arachagor.
Yeah.
And I remembered that. I was like stressing, what am I going to do about this? And then I remembered, oh, he mentioned that set of paints that he used for the sheen on Arachagor, and I bought it. I bought that set of paints back then, like 3 years ago or whatever. So I went back through it and I was like, one of these has to work. And one of them worked. It was perfect. If I hadn't been an intern, I would have had no clue. I'd still be trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So Eric Treadaway, the Spexians are some of your favorites as well, correct?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. All the cosmics are my favorites. It's but yeah, like and I think particularly, I mean, we were talking about color and paint application. I think like out of that first wave in particular, like the Spexians had some really special, kind of effects like that were done on them. This kind of color change, shimmer, paint on the armor was such a great choice on these because it has like that iridescence of like certain beetles have and things like that. So it really carried the insectoid, kind of vibe like into the, this actual manufactured armor, which was really cool. And then to contrast it, the flesh of the bug, these bugs in particular, is instead flatter and more like I don't know. It almost reminds me of like a cave cricket type of a color scheme on this one. So it was a great just combination of colors. And we didn't, like you said, we didn't do that helmet on the first one just so that, we were really trying to distinguish the two, and the helmet was really the main look on the one, and then the unhelmeted for the block commander. But, to be able to then go back and this is a case where it's cool because we're just kind of going back and taking a second crack, or revisiting history with this, and filling in a blank that we wanted to fill.
Well, the number of people in the comments are suggesting I'd love it. Now give me a black helmet for the Spexian Minor. So that's one that I had done as soon as the Spexian Minor came in. We had written the Spexian Minors that there are both tunnelers and there are flyers. So the tunnelers don't have wings. They've got the extra arms and back, and they use, the drills as you see here. But we also included the wings, and we had said, each one of these units has a certain number of tunnelers to like one flyer, and the flyer goes up and down the mine shaft to deliver, messages or stuff like that. So when I got mine, I had an extra one of those helmets, and I painted it up to match this body because I liked the idea of the one that flies having like a flight helmet. So this is the only 2-pack that actually has, or the heads pack that has 2 different heads, but they're actually for 2 different figures. So one of the Spexian helmets in the pack goes with the block commander. The other one goes with the Spexian Minor. So that was the second one that we have here. And then we've got a better look at them. So love the fact, and these will come with the mandibles and the antennas as well.
Yeah, that's a creepy looking combination with that black helmet on there. Like it really, I don't know, starts getting very real as far as like bugginess goes.
Well, and it's challenging is that block commander one, Eric, the minor one's a lot easier because it's blacks, but I love the contrast between the real matte black of that character's armor and the glossy hits that this helmet and some of those body parts have. It really does give it the contrast in those pieces, I feel.
Yeah, I mean that one's a fairly basic paint job in the grand scheme of things, but the overall look of the character, it looks great, and it is very kind of eerie and kind of ominous. Like it's scary. I know the miners weren't made out to be like villainous characters, but I definitely would not want to run into that thing.
Yeah. I mean, we specifically made it so they weren't villainous characters, but I agree with you. If I'm ever in a mine and one of those is coming towards me, I'm not going to be happy.
I don't care what you dress it in. You're probably going to have the same reaction.
So again, this 2-pack, this Cosmic character pack, this is going to also be a $10 pack. All the packs we've seen today will be $10. And that brings us to the 5th set here. And Eric, this is the only one you didn't paint. So there's kind of like an ongoing written rule at Four Horsemen, Eric, that if it's a cool female figure, Sherry's going to get to paint that. So the last set that we did here was a set to go with Zary and Spire. And Eric Treadaway, this is one that once again Sherry took over and just painted 2 heads she's painted before, but just did them amazingly well again with a different look.
Yeah. I mean, it always amazes me, like because I mean, Sherry loves doing these female heads, and it amazes me because I'll leave and walk into the studio, back into her studio, and she turns, like she just hits it immediately. And it's like, oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And I mean, here you go. Another example of that.
So And this uses, so this is two different heads, both that go on the Zary and Spire bodies. Now, these heads also do include the necks. So because the necks are matched to that skin tone, these are going to include those as well. The one on the left here, that is, of course, the head that was first available with Thrace. It's a head we've used a couple times, but interestingly, we've never painted it like an actual human-looking character. It's been Thrace, then it was Callie and Shun, and it's going to be coming soon on the As a Spirit Bender too. So having a chance to actually paint that like a human, human-looking character, I think was a really fun aspect of this. And then that second head is actually the Zary head, but painted in a very different color. As you're going to see in a moment, that head actually matches the skin tone for the Figura Obscura Bastet figure.
Yeah, I mean, I love the way these look. Like, I to be honest, I haven't looked at these in a while, so I forgot what these last two looked like.
Yeah.
So when those popped up, I was like, yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, I mean, looking at them in these outfits, because this very much looks like two characters from the same team, from the same unit that are out on a patrol or something, very different looking characters, both that just use that base body.
Yeah. I mean, these heads transform that figure 110%.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we took this photo as well, so you could see, obviously, to Curtis's point, Curtis just said, these two will work great in Mythic 2. Love them. Absolutely, Curtis. That was one of the thoughts with this, was being able to, obviously not only appeal to Cosmic fans and get people to jump on some Cosmics, but if you got some Mythic parts and you want to throw this on, $10 for this head and neck pack, that's a great way for you to do that. So we're showing that blonde-haired head on. That's one of the deluxe elves from the Tactics, Mythic Legions Tactics set. And then, of course, I mentioned that the Zary head matches Bastet, so that's what we're seeing there as well.
Yeah, I love these transformations too. I mean, the Bastet goes from very creature, otherworldly to turning into a very nice looking human figure just with that head swap. And then same thing. That blonde head on that Knight body, that's just a cool looking, like real classic like 80s traveling party type of a character.
It looks to me like a princess who finally decided to not wait for the prince and save herself, and she got some armor and she's going out to fight that dragon and she's gonna kick some butt. Mr. Miller, a number of people in the chat are pointing out that Joe Russo now has to buy this because it's a human character. And your fellow enabler, Noah Pratt, says, Jeremy got Miller to enable the enablers. So
basically,
there we go.
Yeah. When you told me that these heads were going to be part of it, I was like, oh, so we did get Joe.
So again, I love the way that looks, these two heads on those bodies. That'll be one of the combo packs. Putting together this piece here, I mean, this is literally just these 5 sets, one head from each of these 5 sets. But right here, this is a cool little team. This is awesome. This is almost like an alternate version of the Grave Ring team, right?
Yeah, it really is.
And it really wasn't intentional when we did it, but putting these together like that, I'm like, wow, just that little group together, yeah, that's a cool little party. So to go through the prices on these, as I said, these are all going to be $10 per pack. So if you want to just grab, couple of these packs, whatever, and use them on your existing Cosmics, on your existing Mythics, you can absolutely do that at $10. For those that want the base figures, say that you haven't jumped into Cosmic yet, and this is one of the things that incentivizes you to do that. We do have some combo packs. So the combo pack that's going to be available is going to be, we've got a couple of them. You can get the Serpent Heads with an Oleg Thygar. That's going to be $40. So Oleg Thygar, the pre-order on that was a $37 figure. Again, this is a $10 pack. So you're going to save if you want to get them as a combo pack. Heck, even if you've got Thygar and you want another, that's going to be, you're going to be able to do that. The Zary pack, same exact price. You're going to get those two heads with the Zary Inspire figure, also for $40. And the last of the standard packs is going to be Ias, once again, $40. So any of those combo packs are going to be those heads with that base figure. One thing I will point out, even though these are pre-orders, the figures themselves are things that we have a limited quantity of. So unlike other pre-orders, the heads packs are unlimited. You order as many as you want. We do have a limited amount of these combo packs. So waiting till the last possible moment, not necessarily the best strategy in this one. For the deluxe packs, those are going to run you $50. So we are going to offer the two different Spexians. So you can either get the Block Commander pack with the two heads, or you can get the Spexian Minor pack with the two heads. Either one of those will be $50. And also because that deluxe Thygar just looked so darn cool with that head on it, those snake heads, that will be $50 as well. Curtis saying, will retailers also have a combo price? Honestly, Curtis, we are working out that right now. I think they will have a combo price. It will be more than these prices, but they will have some combos available as well if you choose to go that route. The Drago Seer set with the Kragnar parts and the dragon, that's going to be $68. But we also have one more thing that you can get. We are going to also offer what we call a full team set. That team looked so cool together that we said, what the heck, let's offer that. That will come with these 5 figures. So you'll get the Spexian Block Commander, Ias, Kragnar, the Thygar, Grave Ring, and Zary Inspire, plus all 5 head packs. That'll be $225. So the combo packs were already discounted. This discounts them even further. Pretty cool. And so the pre-order for this is going to start on February 7th. So right now at Store Horseman, we've got the pre-order running for the First 10 Years book and the Silver Knight Legion Builder. That ends on February 2nd. So that ends on a Sunday. The following, I believe it is Friday on the 7th, is when the pre-order for this starts. And this is going to run just over 2 weeks. This is going to run until February 23rd. And once again, as I said earlier, the shipping on these is going to be mid to late 2025. That's what we are looking at here.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think that these are a fun way to, breathe some additional life into some of these cosmic figures, give people some pop and swap options. And it really does set the stage for future things that we could do with these. We've got some cool ideas. Intentionally, there's no tusk bodies in these combo packs. We definitely have some ideas for some tusk character packs we could do. Yes, people asking, can you just buy the heads? Yes, you absolutely can. Any of the head packs we just looked at will be $10. So you get the 2 heads for $10, or in the case of Kragnar, the head and the tail. So Eric Miller, I know you were a little nervous coming on tonight to be kind of have the spotlight shined on you. You're a pretty quiet, unassuming guy. How you feeling? Is this? I know this is something that, on a personal and professional level, has been something you've wanted to do for a number of years. having been in your seat before and getting to kind of live your best life doing something like this, I know how it feels, but I'd love to hear a little bit about what you're thinking.
It's so surreal. I mean, um, and anyone who knows me knows how much I love Four Horsemen. Just as a super fan in general. Even the people I work with are sick of hearing about it. But it's I started a customizing journey a while ago, and kind of had the realization that I think I'd like to do this professionally, and I kind of had that mindset going into the very first Legions con I went to, and then just meeting the studio and spending time with everyone in the studio, and kind of realizing that these people are a lot like me, in a lot of ways. My goal kind of became like, I want to make toys, but like, I really want to make toys with these people. And that's been something I've worked towards for years and years and years. And really it's just been me making friends, and getting to know the guys in the studio and getting to love them more and more with each time I get to spend time with them. But, I worked hard at it, and it happened, and it's here now. And like, yeah, I don't know what to do now, but, it's very surreal, and it's such an honor. So thank you for letting me work on these.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got Joe Vassapolo, another member of the studio who knows what this is like, saying, I remember the day you, Eric Miller, were at Intern, and you told me it was your dream to work with us. So yeah, it's happening, and you're awake. Welcome.
Joe has been so supportive of me too. It's been so awesome. Yeah, I can't even put it into words. I want to play it cool, but I'm also like nerding out.
So I'll share this with Eric Treadaway on the air, because won't be embarrassing at all for Eric Miller. But so a project that he was working on recently, I sent you a photo and you said, wow, that looks incredible. And then I sent it to CB, and CB was blown away. So I shared both of those with Eric, and his reply was, "Is this real life?" And it's been fun. But I mean, all the warm feelings aside, you've killed it, Eric. You've done a wonderful job on these. When Eric and I were planning this out and kind of talking about this last year, the idea of repainting a number of heads to go with existing bodies, this is exactly what we had in mind. So it reinforced your passion for this line and this project, and the selection. And at the end of the day, like so many things with Four Horsemen Studios, the Legionnaires, the fans, are going to be the ones that benefit from this, because they're going to get some very, very cool pieces that have, your touch on it as well.
Yeah, thanks so much for saying that. I've been a huge advocate for Cosmic since the beginning, and even back when CB was dropping hints in interviews about galactic legions, like it's like, I want to know more about that. Tell me more. And it took years to get to that point.
Yeah.
And I could not be happier with the line and the selection of characters and just the designs in general. I love them so much, and just to be able to work on it is a dream come true.
Yeah, and that's one of the things in Eric Treadaway. You can speak to this too. Even a project like this, knowing that Eric loves Cosmic Legions, saying, well, here's a Cosmic project, I think he'll really enjoy this. He'll do really well because he's so passionate. I love the fact that the studio considers that. I mean, obviously it's a business and stuff has to get done. So if someone has a window of opening, they may have to do a project, but barring just, it's got to get done, whoever's available does it. I love the fact that we really do care about who does what. And when people have a passion or shared interest in a certain figure, them getting that project, I absolutely think that passion is visible in the end product that results from that.
Yeah, I mean, so much so. Obviously everybody needs a paycheck. Everybody needs to make a living. But I think, we're working with people who would be doing this on some level, whether they were getting paid for it or not. Like this is, making these types of figures. It's something that, everybody involved in the company and studio loves doing. And so, although of course, yes, the employment part of it is a factor, it kind of is at least in the forefront of your mind, secondary. Like the passion for what you're doing and the creative part of it. That's what gets you through the day, and that's what the motivation is for doing the job that you're doing. And so, of course, that's something to harness and to encourage and to support. I've known places that didn't do that. It's counterproductive. It's just you've got these ultra talented people and they're assets to what we do, and so if you want them to do what they most want to be doing and they're most excited about, and it makes everybody's life happier. It makes the fans happier because it comes through in the product. I mean, it's I just don't really see any other way of doing it. It's just it would be kind of foolish, not to do it that way.
I think it's the difference between it being more of an assembly line, like it's got to get painted, whoever's open, get it painted, versus the truly collaborative. I mean, we say all the time how collaborative these projects are, but they really are. Like, there is so much input. I mean, there's nothing that gets released. There's nothing that gets shown that doesn't have a number of different hands on it in some fashion. And it always amazes me how that input improves rather than confuses the project. Because, I've spent my entire life as a designer, and there's that kind of talk about, design by committee. What is it? A giraffe is a horse designed by committee, they say, or whatever. And I've had so many projects where so many cooks are in the kitchen, so many people feel like they have to chime in, that the end result is so far away from the design prompt that it's unrecognizable. I love the fact that we are able to maintain that collaborative environment, yet everything keeps moving forward and everything keeps getting better. That, I think, is a truly unique and special thing about Four Horsemen Studios.
Yeah. And I think part of it, despite the way it may look on the outside to some people, we still are an extremely small company. And I think that's part of it too, is there are a lot of interactions that happen on any given product, but they're small interactions. It's never the conference room full of people sitting around a table, everybody giving their input, sometimes just for the sake of giving input. There's still very personal conversations that we have. So a lot of times that conversation may be just between two people at that stage of the project. And then when it moves to the next stage, then that's another one. But at the same time, somebody that's down the hall and maybe not even involved at that stage may come in with an idea that saves the day. And that's awesome too. But it's I feel like that's part of what it is. There's no job justification or people sitting around throwing out comments or whatever just for the sake of of doing it. Like it's all very focused and concise, and properly motivated. Yeah, no, it's a good thing, you know, that kind of intimate, smaller nature of the company. The fact that we've been able to keep that dynamic, I think, has kept us, kept us in a good space.
Yeah. We did have a super chat earlier today that I didn't read. It is Noah Pratt saying, "Boom, congratulations, buddy." I also did have this one that I just wanted to address. Someone said, "I know the release isn't for a couple weeks, but I'd love it if the pictures get posted up ASAP. All the photos that I've shared tonight will be posted up tomorrow, so you don't have to worry about taking screen grabs and posting them right now. All of these will be posted on the Four Horsemen's channels tomorrow morning." One last thing that we can leave everyone with, Eric Miller, is a funny interaction that we had. I want to say it was the orange dragon for Kragnar head. Where was that the one that someone had painted and put in the Cabal, and you messaged me and you were like, "Is this what it's like living your life?" Where there's something coming, and we're all, customizers are all working with these parts. This is very much, it is a customizer paint matching these parts. And you asked if that's, and absolutely, that is what we live with. There are points that, and Eric Treadaway, you can answer this as well. There are points where we just cross our fingers, hoping that we get to reveal something before someone beats us to the punch, because it's such a cool idea. We're like, we're going to release it in a month. Just let's hold it off until then. So yes, Eric Miller, that is what life is like. We have these secrets that we have to hold back.
It's so funny being on that side of it now. There's been so many times, even since I just started this project, that people will post things and like, they did a great job, but man, they have no idea that it's just coming out anyway.
So one more time, all of these Cosmic character packs, these will be available to pre-order at Store Horseman starting on February 7th. That pre-order will end on the 23rd, shipping later this year. Head packs will be $10. Combo packs start at $40. These will be available at retailers afterwards. Of course, they'll be at slightly higher prices. But at the end of the day, we want to enable you to get some cool Cosmic figures and head packs for your collection. So we are making these available. We got a super chat here saying night packs next. Joe Russo has been beating that drum that he wants the Joe Russo heads pack for his night. So Joe Russo paid me $2 to read that on the air. Joe, your comment is heard and understood. Thank you. Guys, Eric's, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'm going to put you both backstage for a minute. I'm going to play some happy music. We're going to say bye to everybody. I will be back next week. We'll have other cool stuff that we'll be talking about. Maybe not as out of this world as this, but undoubtedly it'll be fun stuff. And I hope you will join us for that conversation. Good night, everyone.